Welcome back to the Rocket Game tutorial series. This is part 6. Okay, just a quick recap of where we left off. So we were able to create all these rockets, all these asteroids, and fine-tune their explosions to look kind of cool, have them scale up and down with the size of the asteroids, and and explode with rocket collisions. So you can see my rocket actually passes through a couple of them. That's because there's a 1-second delay before their collider turns on after they've been created. What I want to try and do in this video is create a manager for these asteroids so that the asteroids on the screen can be tallied and then we know when they've all been destroyed. So just like in the classic game of asteroids, once all the asteroids are gone, the level is complete and you move on to another level that's harder. So the first thing that I want to do is take a look at my asteroid controller script, which is on every one of these asteroids. So I'll go ahead and pop that up. And one of the things that I've been thinking about is that the asteroid should report to somebody. So there's a couple ways we can do this, and really I've been kind of creating this project in an evolutionary fashion. I haven't really done a lot of pre-planning here in thinking of the overall game and how everything should be architected. So I'm pretty much just kind of winging it here, but in doing this I'll show you some different ways to approach parts of game development, and hopefully you'll learn different tools that you can use at different times. And certainly implementing something and finding out that it's not the most efficient method or the best method is still a good learning lesson. You can always go back and refactor or re-architect parts of your game. I suggest just getting them working first and then certainly going back. But if you can pre-plan, which is what I do with other projects that I've worked on, and I'll probably start doing in future tutorials, you'll be in a much better spot where you can have a good idea of how to approach a problem and solve it before you're even there. And that's not to say that you will have to stick with that plan, but at least you'll have a plan going forward. Okay, so like I said before, the asteroid controller should either report to somebody or somebody should figure out how to collect all the asteroids and know how many asteroids there are in a given scene. In this case, the asteroids themselves explode and then they spawn off new asteroids. So the next asteroids would have to also report themselves to somebody. So the asteroid controller script will have to first either subscribe itself to somebody when it wakes up or when it's created, or somebody will have to poll the scene for asteroids. Now, somebody polling the scene for asteroids probably isn't a good idea, because then your asteroids will spawn new asteroids, and that somebody polling the scene would have to do it every time an asteroid is collided with. So I think it's better in this case to have every asteroid that is created call up to something else and tell it that it's alive. And in this case, it can either be a message or it can be strongly tied where it's got a connection to a specific kind of game object or component. So maybe I will start with the game component, which would be an easier implementation up front. So I'm going to stub some code in here. We're going to find Asteroid Manager. And maybe we'll create a script called an Asteroid Manager. And let's say we tell it we're alive and tell it we exist. So an Asteroid Manager, right now we don't have a class called Asteroid Manager, so maybe we can create one. So let's go ahead and create a private Asteroid Manager. And we're going to give it a small a for the local variable, Asteroid Manager. And you can see we're underlined here. So we'll go ahead and hit Control period. And it's offering to generate an Asteroid Manager class for me in a new file. And I think that's a good idea. The thing about doing this within Visual Studio is that it's not going to add the Unity using statements. So you can see it went ahead and created this class for me, made it internal, but it's not using the Unity engine, and we'll probably have to use more namespaces there, but I'm just going to do this for now. It also doesn't stub in the start and the, whoops, let's see, void start, oh, because we're not deriving from a mono behavior, we also don't get our lifecycle events. So we're going to make that public, actually. Public void start. And there's usually an update. Well, let's not put in the update yet. Maybe we won't need one. So at the very least, we know that we need to find our asteroid. So we'll go ahead and say GameObject.find by, let's see, find GameObjectOfType, and we will see Asteroid Manager. Asteroid Manager. Oof. Asteroid Manager. There we go. That wasn't easy. Asteroid Manager equals. So now we are setting our Asteroid Manager, which we'll find in the scene, to our local variable Asteroid Manager. Now we want to tell this Asteroid Manager that we're alive, so we're probably going to want something like Asteroid Manager dot add asteroid, maybe, or track asteroid. We could do that, track asteroid, and our asteroid controller. So again, Asteroid Manager doesn't have track asteroid as a method, so quick actions recommends creating track asteroids. So we'll go ahead and do that. And we can control click and it'll take us right to this method. I'm going to make it public, even though it's internal, meaning it's shared with any classes within its namespace. I'm just making it public. So in here, we want to add incoming asteroid to our tracking list. Yeah. So we need a list. A couple ways we could do this. We could do this with a with an array, or we could use a system generic system collections dot generic, or we could use a list. And I kind of like the list, even though at times it's not, well, it's not as efficient asteroids. So it's going to be a list that is made up of the asteroid controllers for all the asteroids that register themselves asteroids, and we're going to initialize the list, and that should be that. So in here, any incoming asteroid needs to be added to our asteroids. Add asteroid, and actually we can rename this as asteroid. That's a little better. Asteroid. Okay. All right, so what's going to happen when all of these asteroids start is that they're going to find, and actually we don't need to call GameObject anymore for the FindObjectOfType static method call. So we're going to, on start, every asteroid is going to find the Asteroid Manager and then add itself to the Asteroid Manager using this track asteroid method and sending its controller or its component into the Asteroid Manager. The Asteroid Manager from track asteroid is going to add the asteroid to the asteroids list. So we made this public, so it'll be visible in the Asteroid Manager. Let's let that compile. And another thing I want to point out here is that we have this hierarchy that's very flat right now. Let's go ahead and create an asteroids game object, asteroids, and just drag these guys in there. And that way we can collapse them. And on this asteroids game object, we can drag our Asteroid Manager. So now you can see our Asteroid Manager has a size of 0, but it's visible in the inspector, which is good for us for debugging. So hit play, and you can see all the asteroids have registered themselves with our Asteroid Manager. They won't unregister, although they will show up as missing once they explode. See, there we go. We've got missing, missing. We've got new asteroids adding themselves every time something explodes. So this list will just grow immensely until all the asteroids have been created through collisions. So let's go through and just see that happen. Okay, so you can see everything is starting to show up and eventually show up missing as they explode. So there we have 76 asteroids that have been created. I don't know how many new ones will be. Oh, there we go. There's some new ones. Thought maybe we'd gone through most of these things. Okay, so a total of 81 asteroids were created. And of course, this can dynamically change with the settings you have on your asteroids. However many lives they have in here can certainly add to the number of asteroids you have in a level. And again, I recommend being very careful with that setting. Yep, there's a little tiny asteroid there. And another one over there. Okay, so going back to our asteroids, we have ended up creating 83. They're all destroyed, but they're still in our list. Our list hasn't removed them. So let's figure out how to remove them real quick. So let's go back to our script. And we will want to jump into the asteroid controller. We know when our asteroid gets destroyed. Our asteroid gets destroyed once its explosion is played. It calls destroy game object. So right before we destroy ourselves, we can call into our Asteroid Manager, which we have a reference to. And we can say remove asteroid. And we could say stop tracking. Maybe stop tracking will keep it more consistent. Tracking asteroid. And we'll send this in. Now again, this method is not generated, so we'll go to quick actions. We'll have it just generate the method for us. You can control click on it. It's going to take us right to the new method that was created. It's internal. Again, I prefer to make this public for now. We'll go ahead and rename this to asteroid. And we will say asteroids.remove. There we go. Now let's give that a quick test. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this guy. Okay, you see it's growing and then it's shrinking. And that's exactly what we want. So there you go. We've got a manager now that can grow and shrink. with all of our asteroids. So now you can start to see that by doing this, we can test to see how many asteroids are alive in our scene. And again, not optimized. There are likely performance issues that will happen here, especially if you spawn way too many asteroids. Using a pool of asteroids will probably be a lot more efficient and make more sense for something like this. Especially as you try and get to more difficult levels. You could do other things where you maybe slow the ship down or, whatever it is. But here you can see we're now at 0 asteroids in our scene, and that could be maybe a win scenario. So every time we remove an asteroid, we could see if asteroids.count equals 0, maybe we won? Question mark? We won? Yeah. So this is one way to do it. Another way is to have the Asteroid Manager instantiate all of the asteroids. It could randomly find positions on the screen, instantiate them, or you could have a series of XY positions already planned out and instantiate your asteroids in those positions. And that way the Asteroid Manager would know which asteroids are created and it could have a reference to them. It would still need to get a reference to any new asteroids that are generated from collisions. So that can get tricky, but you could always follow the pattern that we have here where the asteroids generated call back to the Asteroid Manager using this technique. The one thing I would recommend doing is instead of using FindObjectOfType, if the Asteroid Manager is generating all the asteroids, it could pass a reference of itself into the asteroid, and then when the asteroid generates new asteroids, it would also pass a reference of the Asteroid Manager to the new asteroids, and that way there wouldn't be this call of FindObjectOfType going out every time an asteroid is generated. And these kinds of calls can be complicated, or they can be taxing on a system as they run through the entire hierarchy trying to find any game object with a component of Asteroid Manager. So that could slow things down, especially as you get to 70, 80 asteroids and there's collision or particle effects happening, collision tests happening, projectiles being fired, on-screen display. This is one way to plan it, and certainly a simple way. And like I said before, as you get to doing this, just implementing one way first is really important. That at least gets you started on a path, and then you can go back and start optimizing or re-architecting for whatever the scenario is that you're trying to achieve. So I'm going to leave it there with this tutorial, and in the next tutorial we'll see about getting some on-screen information, maybe some overlay with the health of the ship. I'll leave it here for now, and I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. And if you like these videos, please subscribe. Certainly open to any suggestions or comments. Always looking for new ideas to make tutorials for everybody. Thank you.